Welcome to Soundbreaker. On today's episode, we're talking to Mika Karhumaa from Remember Agency. Thank you for joining us. And for our listeners who might not be familiar with you, could you please introduce yourself? Just a small introduction before we really dive into it. It's going to be an extremely insightful and interesting interview.
Thanks for having me here. The name is Mika Karhumaa. I'm an artist manager, contract specialist towards the music business management lecturer, and an author. And do I have 3 minutes? I would, introduce a few things.
This whole interview is for you. Nobody else is involved. It's all about you, Mika.
Okay.
It's all about you and your accolades and your achievements. And what else can you contribute and talk about the business, the music business?
That's with
Yes.
my childhood and the beginning. My father was a doctor who spoke 7 different languages, and he liked to use those skills. So there was a kind of an international feel in our home.
Oh.
My mother was a journalist who covered mainly sports stories, and she also directed documents about athletes and artists. So as a result, I traveled a lot. And also they visited our home. And as a kid, I witnessed a lot of these behind the scene stories. And what really stuck with me was this difference between public and private life. In the magazines, they were celebrated heroes, and at home, kind of a normal person. And another thing that, left an impression was the amount of practice they put in. What drives people train so intensively, and you really have to be good at what you
Yes.
do. And at the same time, I was a teenager. It had started to grow on me that I also wanted to perform. Everybody had the band at the time, and one band was missing a bass player. So I, got my parents to buy me a bass guitar, and I became the bass player. But it didn't last long because I got replaced quite fast by the guy who actually could play. And this is the thing that changed my life, and it's got under my skin. And I started to rehearse like these athletes. And I, armed myself with bass player teach, and things started to click. So bands then came and went, and while I was focusing to become a better bass player, I didn't realize that I had inadvertently acquired the rehearsing place for us, booked venues, and handled all these kind of band-related matters. And
It came naturally because automatically you were doing it.
Yeah, but that was my focus was, about to become this kind of a bass player. Then one time, I went to this training place, rehearsing place before others, and broke an A string. And then, it was evening time and all these music stores were closed. So I called to local music school and where our guitarist was working, and asked if I would borrow one and a string. And, they lent me one and said that bring another one in its place. And when I went to return the string, the school principal peeked through the doorway and said he'd heard about me. And next line was that you become our next bass guitar teacher. And that was the moment when I started to receive money from this thing. And at the same time, I applied to law school. And when I finally got in, it happened that I started receiving these requests for for management from artists. And the tipping point was that when one of them actually received a recording deal offer, I joined that negotiation trip. And I remember this. It was my first, appearance ever in the label. There was this kind of a huge classroom and a huge table and all these copies of the contract neatly laid out. And I remember looking at it with professional demeanor, although I really didn't understand much of the content yet. But it was quite understandable in language. And the artist signed for it, and I was with them next 3 years, and I'm still on that path. So this is pretty much the beginning. I'm not sure how was it my first choice to become a manager, but I ended up doing this.
Well, and also you went to law school, not
Yeah.
not to forget that. So you pretty much earned the experience in the beginning when you were doing booking and all of that. That's part of management back in the day. And then you went to law school, so you got the legal side of it, and you were involved with the band. So you pretty much lived and breathed this whole music business from the roots. I mean, this is a classic scenario that, really, that, a great example of somebody who deserved to be in the music business. He earned it.
But
Absolutely. Go
alongside
ahead.
with the artist, we were at the same level then, so we learned together. That was one of the best ways to start things. So, yeah.
It's funny you went into this, and my first question was, after you introduce yourself, I was going to say, can you please take us back to your early days, teenage or younger than that? What started this whole movement and passion for music? And you literally kind of just were ahead of me. So
Yeah.
you did answer. You said your dad spoke 7 languages. I'm always
Yes.
fascinated with people
Yeah.
when they speak more than 2 languages.
And he spoke
2
really
is absolutely.
fluent.
What did he
Some
spoke? What did he
get really
speak?
good at it.
He speak, if you don't mind
And
me asking.
sorry,
What languages he spoke, your
at
dad?
least English, Swedish, French, Spanish, Latin, something else, but this that I remember now.
Amazing. All the languages that actually he could use.
Yeah.
And German.
Yeah.
Wow, fascinating. To me, it's really, it's a talent.
Afterwards, it was really a fertile ground for me because to see this kind of, he really invited people to our home, and so did my mother. So it's like now you get used to this kind of a social life, and you get used to performers.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, you know what? Pretty interesting background, and I love it. I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners are going to be inspired and fascinated with your story and probably want to follow your path. Well, later on, you'll give them some advice, what to do, what not to do, later on in the interview, probably towards the end. But for now, it's the beginning. So, how was your experience in international contract law as you studied law? And copyright influence how you manage artists in the music industry?
Well, first of all, if we go back to that same artist I just mentioned, he was also, Google wasn't present at that time in a way we know it now. But he
Yeah.
was a master of finding things, a lot of things. And I brought this. He gave me these. There's a physical agreements that, and all the origin is in the United States. And where our relationship was in the beginning, he gave me this bunch of agreements, and I started to read them, and I didn't understand any of them. I mean, any of them. And there was no one to ask help with this, even though I was surrounded by lawyers in law school, because it's something that wasn't present in Finland yet. All this kind of things.
Yes.
So the only way to start with this is to start reading them. And I'm quite persistent when I start doing something, and gradually I began to have a meaning behind these words, and this overall picture started to take shape. And I remember one summer, when the rest of my friends were playing volleyball, and I was on side the field interpreting this agreement. It was a joke among us, and gradually I started to learn these things, and I just find the meaning on things, and what music publishing mean, and what's the meaning of recording agreement. And the only thing what I had then is like just you ensure that I had understood these things correctly. And this was something that make things way easier than the beginning. But the same thing what I learned from these athletes, that you really need to do work to become good at it. And I needed to go the hard way, and now it's much more easier to approach these agreements because you've dived so deep into them in a way that you almost can feel the mindset of the one who's created them. So this is pretty much. And also for this, we're gonna touch upon these music business management lectures here. The one thing I discovered with this is that I have developed my own way to learn and internalize these things. That was another great advice. So it's like you can actually, you don't always need our advice to get things started. You can start in doing things on your own also. But
Interesting.
it's all these things reflect for these athletes, the way they work. I see it when I was a kid, so I'm not afraid of, go down the rabbit holes, so to speak.
Yes, yes. Can you tell us about the time that you faced some of the big challenges as an artist manager, but you somehow managed to turn it around and boost an artist's career?
Yeah, at the beginning, it was a time when streaming wasn't here yet. So the thing for artists pretty much was how to receive their recording agreement. The independent scene wasn't around here. So in order to take you, that everyone industry would take you seriously, was that you needed to have a recording agreement. And my,
Hmm.
path has always been up and coming artist. This consulting work focuses more on established artists, but as an operative manager or a day-to-day manager, I've always engaged in up and coming artists. So the
Hmm.
first thing always when artists approach me this kind of a thing is to try to find a way how we end up in a situation that we can first facilitate these kind of negotiations, and then when we enter in those places, then how we can secure the recording deal. And that's the thing what I've done for an up and comings at least 20 times. On the contrary, nowadays this thing is that this streaming and AI and the thing where we're heading is something what I've seen is like success doesn't ring bells anymore. And it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
announce itself loudly. It's usually stems for this kind of a small and unnoticed actions and decisions made over time than some major grand event. And this is the place that I jump from Finland. So I'm not on the ground in the places where I'm supposed to be. We need to have a different kind of approaches to reach this global level. And the thing that nowadays happens, and always when I get to establish and create for an artist online presence that's strategically aligned with their story, goals, values, or agenda, these are the things that nowadays is the thing that make difference. So it's like,
Hmm.
yeah. So
Got it.
one of my
I mean,
expertise is promotion.
yes, which is very important factor. And when the digital era came in, a lot of artists, independent artists, kind of pivoted away from promotion because they're like, "Oh, you don't need to just put it on Spotify or put it on Deezer or or iTunes or any of the other platforms, and Pandora, whatever, and it'll earn money." No, you need to promote it. You need to work it. You need to find a way. Use it to create viral videos. Use pieces of your music on TikTok, on Instagram Reels, on Shorts, on all of that. There's many ways, and a lot of artists, I feel, they kind of independent artists, and that's why I think to continue that sentence, that's I think one of the reasons that's why Spotify stepped in. It's like, hey, we cannot house all this music in our servers and costing us so much money, and it's not making money, and nobody's and we have this whole accounting system and this employees and infrastructure that costing us money, and to pay somebody $5 or $1 or whatever. I mean, we need people to work hard and to increase the streams, and I think it's, to me, the digital age had a good and bad. Bad is the money they used to earn in physical, it disappeared. I mean, one of 100 used to earn, like, how much does it cost? How much would you sell an album at $11? And how many streams you need to get $11? But the other thing, the flip coin or the flip side of it is promotion. It got easier. You control your own destiny with a laptop or computer, desktop, and a keyboard and internet, and you can work it every day. Promote the hell out of it right there. It
Exactly.
doesn't cost you anything. You don't have money to pay a marketing person or ads. Just work it on your social media platforms. It's right there in front of you. It's a gift. It's right there. So, not to interrupt the interviews with you, it's all about you,
Yeah,
your
that was a
expertise. So
great
please.
point of view. I think that with this up and
Yeah.
coming artists, one thing what we've discovered that when everything is at the beginning and the
Yeah.
some of the results are also visible, that we begin to have a closer look about this following and all these kind of things, you realize that and you're
Yes.
thought that your audience is in one place. And when you take a closer examination, it is to some extent, but they are not as engaged as you thought. And then there's
Yes.
other
Yeah.
elsewhere people who are genuinely, interested in your work, and then you realize that
Yeah.
it's take place that your passive
Yes.
promotion and online presence
Yes.
is the thing that
Correct.
you have
Yes.
activated algorithms that have
Yes.
helped them to discover you. And this is really
Yes.
interesting thing that how if you get to pinpoint these reasons behind some outcome. This is what I
Yes.
feel really fascinating thing with this. And always when we find some kind of a pathway where some sort of breakthrough is possible, that's always a huge day for us.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely. What inspired you to tackle some of the big projects out there, like the essence of music, of the music business trilogy? And how did you think it influenced people understanding the music business management around the world?
it's a great question. I love the question. It's something, I have a lot of ideas and thoughts in
Hmm.
mind, usually.
Yeah.
I used to follow the path. I used to follow the story, how the road unfolds in front of you.
Yes.
I had this band I was taking care of in 2006, and we had this tour in Europe. And I was then writing my then book in the tour bus, and the headliners, tour manager, we were somewhere close to German and Austrian border. He asked me that, why do I write this book in Finnish? That you should do this in English, and it would open all the doors for you. And yeah, it took me 9 years to take action on this. It was 2015. His name was Piesel, by the way. This is an excellent place to thank
Yes.
him. It was a great advice. Thank you, Piesel. And yeah, that was the thing that it originally was. I was meant to write one. But as
Yes.
you can see, I'm not native in English, so there's a lot to do here. And I wrote this first English version of this book, and I delivered it to my editor, who thought I would be my editor, and she said that this is no way near that I could start working on this. So I discovered this thing that I remember that I had my old English teacher in law school, and I went to visit him and asked if I can come there to make the course again with this first and second year student, and he let me do it. Yeah, it got me under my wing, and then started again this kind of a process that I will have to learn to do this in English in a way that my editor understands.
Yes.
So the
Yeah.
one who I could work with, she's still on board. Now, then everything started to click. But at the time, I was, trying to make that first book better. Alongside another book was created. As a result, the two books were, born, and the third one, it wasn't. I got a grant. I was on vacation in Italy, and my mother-in-law called me. They were close to Adriatic Sea, and
Hmm.
she said that my name is in the newspaper among the recipients of a grant. So that's the way how that trilogy came out.
Amazing.
Originally one book, but that, once again, I followed the story. So it's like it
Yes.
was the
Yes.
story that led me.
Is that what also drove you to write the art of music management, for artist managers?
Yeah, it's
And
pretty much the same. It was the end of the pandemic. This is I love the
yes.
story. And my wife was like, "You seem a bit restless, and you should go out or on trip." And I then went, and I was, on that trip, and Music Allies commercial director Anthony Churchman called me that their head of training is in the country, and you guys should meet. And so we did. And we had this 2-hour conversation when we end up talking about our teaching methods. And then
Mhm.
he mentioned me that some of the things what I do are quite advanced. And on my way back home, I realized that I had to write another book. So it's always, there's some kind of a reason that makes me, makes me write these books. But in this case, and also there was this, when I was in a way that, I knew there will be a second edition for it. So that's what I published 2 months ago. I made this kind of a reservation for this first edition, and I knew I'm
Hmm.
gonna, made it better. So 2 months ago, this one was released.
Oh, I need to get one of those.
Yeah.
I need to get a copy of that book. Yes.
But yeah, it's like all these books. The first book ever what I wrote is like I started taking on clients
Hmm.
during my time in school, and I went to visit one of them, and they had a meeting there, and I
Hmm.
was just, okay, can I use your computer? And then I started, write this kind of a pitch about music business book, and I was just waiting this conversation to end. And it gets
Hmm.
dragging on the conversation. And then, Google wasn't present at the time. So there was a yellow pages. And I found
God.
this is 5 to 6 publishers that could come into
Yes.
question. And also the meeting kept dragging. And then I saw these postage machines where you can stamp letters. And, on a whim, I never thought no one would take me seriously, nor I would send them out at any level. But on a whim, I was off to the mailbox, and I sent them out. Forget the whole
Wow.
thing. Forget the whole thing. And in 2 weeks, one of them reached me out through letter, not through phone or not through email, through letter. They would like to
Yeah.
publish. And my
Wow.
book, and I was like, book. So
Interesting.
I managed to negotiate myself a 10K advance. And it was, for me
Wow.
at that time, it was a substantive amount of money. So
Absolutely. And for
not
somebody
only,
who is not, yes, I mean, it's kind of, yes.
without a script. And it
Yes.
would be payable upon delivery of finished script. But it was like, it was kind of a pivotal moment for everything. I never planned this to happen. It was just an idea. And, it's then when you got to, publish book with, it was a good publisher under their wing, then you learn this process, and it makes things easier afterwards. Yeah.
Interesting. You wear quite a few hats, my friend. You wear an entrepreneur hat, you wear a management hat, artist management hat, and an author hat, and also an educator. So when you teach people or students or people who really thrive, or they want to be in the music business, what is, in your music management programs, what is some of the main thing that your principles you focus on for these to aspire these professionals who thrive to be in the music industry or music business?
Once again, an excellent question. It's always the way I see it. It's I'm trying to facilitate all the teaching, all the lecturing, all the mentoring, all the coaching, everything in a way that people become capable of finding their own way to manage. That's probably the most important thing, because there's 200 ways more to reach the same outcome. So in a way that if I start to micromanage this teaching, there's a danger that I express things in a way that it rules out all the good ideas. So there's always in teaching, there's a technical thing side of it and a tactical side of it. The technical thing is that it's the easy thing, because we cannot teach copyrights in many ways. It's something that we should know pretty much the same. But how you use or alternatives through contracts when you, for example, trade with these sets there, that's another thing. And there's this kind of operational creativity is something that I like to, people to, start thinking from the very beginning, so that in the same way musicians and artists, they what is something that you need to find your own voice. In music business management and artist management, it's a good thing if you find your own style. Right? It will become your trademark. And this kind of a thing,
Interesting. How do you guide artists and managers, to navigate through the intricate world of contracts and licensing and copyright in the music industry, and still ensure there's a safeguard there for the interest effectively?
The first thing What's nice more before we go into this is that you need to match your short-term plan to match the long-term agenda. That's the first thing that and it's something that it's all usually the manager who. I'm not now telling that artist is less knowledgeable about you or trying to belittle artist. No, not at all. But usually this the game plan is coming from the manager, and it's really important for us to explain the measures and all the things what we do, the background of these things what we are about to do to an artist, so that they really can understand, because artists can help with their own actions, these things. When we use this thing as a compass, and all this kind of what I usually compare this thing, that when the things are at their peak, it's like a manager is, we do have dozens of open street chess games going on at the same time, and there's many people watching what you do, and you only know the thing, how you see this game to go on. So how many steps in you need to think 7 steps ahead, or this kind of thing. It's important that you inform artists about these alternative options. For example, we use with my management, with our artists, we used WhatsApp voicemails, where artist doesn't have to respond these things, but I can easily send him or her or them this kind of a 15-minute speech turn. That's where I just contemplate the thoughts what I have in mind, and they can then listen to it with double speed. But just to inform that, hey, I'm trying to do this, I'm approaching this person now, and here are the alternatives, and this is what I'm trying to reach. And if something happens there, this is what I hope you could deliver. This kind of thing, but it's all about this communication when it starts. And I will train artists always along the when there's a need for it. So that's the thing that as a manager, it's and this it is generate this experience all the way.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. How important it is for artists and managers to understand the global music market, considering your expertise in international law and international contract law, I should say, music contract law. And what strategies do you suggest to achieve in the success of an international level?
It's again, great question. It's this thing that many things. What has changed is many things have automated.
Yes.
And this trend continues. So you don't have to know all the essentials so well you used to do earlier. So this is nowadays also this kind of a music business management studies should keep up with this way, and what you need, it's I'm not sure if I'm answering the question, but the thing is that these fundamental structures and essential aspects, when you get to know them right from the beginning, you can then enhance your knowledge as your career progresses. So these kind of things are really important, that from the artist point of view, is that you get yourself connected to all the relevant pay sources, and you enable the passive income for all your active efforts and underbooks and this kind of a thing. So earlier, when everything was behind these, your business relied on others' efforts, so you needed to have a recording agreement. Then this information was pivotal, but not necessary nowadays. And all these kind of things, that if you know these fundamental things and you know these essential aspects, you already have a knowledge. Find additional information what's available online, and you can increase this knowledge with the pace you feel you need it. So it's like this. But with this thing that I usually, I like to inform these game plans, because it enables this transparency between us. The relationship with the artist and the manager it's an extreme trust. It requires this kind of reliability and all these kind of things. It also, artist is capable of assessing how well we perform with these efforts. So sometimes we don't, that doesn't succeed with any of them, and sometimes everything what we do will come true. So
Correct.
yeah,
I mean, you mentioned an important thing just now. You said, things have changed. So you have seen changes throughout decades that you've been in the music business. You've seen a lot of changes. And what is, I mean, your opinion, how do you view the biggest challenge in these changes for artists, for managers, in this today's digital era, which is, I think we come into an end to that era, which is another question of mine coming soon is you being in the business for a long time. What do you think? What's the new thing? How are we going to consume content? Is it going to be, at one time there were stores, now physical brick and mortar stores. Now we have digital stores, the DSPs we call them. And, and the social media came into play, TikTok and Instagram Reels, Shorts and all of that. And what's next? How are we going to consume content? Because the money is going down. So artists will focus more on performance, more on merch, more on engaging to live tours and getting involved in commercials and acting and so forth and so forth. So, so what's next? Do you have a crystal ball? You wear so many hats. So maybe you developed the sense.
if I would, if to wish for something, I hope that the significance of copyright will remain, no matter what happens.
So that will, but it's still pen and paper. Yeah, digitally saved, digitally typed, but it's still not engaged in everything is separate. Metadata, copyright, publishing, composition, it's all separate. It's all, and all goes on an Excel sheet and goes in the computer. It's saved, but still, it's not together. What I'm saying is changeable. Yes, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but with all this technological advancement, we adapt and adopt things.
Yeah.
Who would have thought 20 years from if someone would have said me 2001 that I will be buy my groceries with phone, I would have laughed. So this AI thing with the music. I think it will be some kind of a parallel thing, and the answer is somewhere between. The horror scenario would be that we get so used to this kind of passive consumption and algorithm providing us what we're supposed to hear, and we don't forget the whole artist. So it's like it doesn't anymore matter to me who is the performer, and this is something I hope we never end up being in.
So what is the challenges that you face with all of these rapid changings, in the music, because everything is automated, as you said, everything is digital, everything's that, and now AI. How do you see, and what's the biggest challenge, and how do you see artists is there opportunities that artists should take advantage of with all these changes?
Yeah, this is I would say money is still, for thinking about this up-and-coming artist perspective here, it's like it's the greatest challenge. But there are, things have changed. I do have a lot of clients who have a successful trip already, and then they just decide that now we end up starting another dream what they have, and they do have resources to do this kind of a thing. So it's like a challenge is like is I don't know how to say it, well, what would be the thing, but to stand out, because there's so much the offer.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the how you know.
Let's see. As I said, I'll say it again. You wore so many hats, so you gained all this knowledge, all this experience. A lot of our viewers and listeners will watch this episode, and they're going to be extremely inspired by your story. It's like, wow, okay. Like the knowledge, the contribution to artists and to the business that you contributed. And you're still contributing. You're teaching, you're giving, you're helping, and all of the mentoring. What advice would you give to a lot of these inspired entrepreneurs who wants to carve their own path in the music business and follow your footsteps, maybe in management, maybe, in total different, in other ways? What's your advice to them to do or not to do? Especially, we are entering a new era of in the music business, which hasn't been revealed, but I would say from now till 5 years, slowly we're going to see the new era is coming in, and goodbye to digital.
It's like I would say that engage in
Yes.
all the conversation.
Yes.
The thing is like take part in every possible industry event. You have a chance. This is something, and always when there's and start things at younger age. So if you are a younger listener and seeing this thing, start now. This is a great, because all these, whenever they comes, and about this wearing different hats, when you're younger, it's I took all the possibilities to be in touch. Not the studio work, but what I ever could, take part in. And it's something that, when you engage in these collaborations, you not only receive information how some task will be handled, no, you also find yourself the best practices how you yourself take care of these tasks. And all these kind of experiences what you receive from these things make you a better manager. And this is a funny thing, a great thing nowadays, how things are changing, that the titles aren't really so the thing. Everybody is a manager these days, and everybody needs these skills. This is something that this is
what is the common misconception people have about the music industry?
Yeah, great question. I've been dealing with those contracts so much, and my youth, this misconception usually relates to these situations. And some of this, before we dive into this, speak more about it. It's like this negotiations and checking agreements was my main thing 10 years ago. Now it's 10%.
Wow, 10%.
Ultimate, thing, but usually this misconception and how what people may have, I'm not saying it isn't always this way, but is that the one who enters into negotiation and come out there with the paper in hand is the reason who make all this happen.
Yes,
That isn't true anymore these days. It's usually the all these steps, preceding steps that have been taken to reach that point, is that if you take a closer look, you see that anyone would have accomplished the same agreement. So this is the thing. Another thing, of course, is like this: what kind of an agreement you have and how it fits to your plans. This is where you need experience from the negotiator. This is the thing that in the scene that labels require different qualities from the artist, what they asked for 20 years ago.
Interesting.
But it relates to this negotiation that it's like it's not always the one who is the delivery.
Yes, for sure. Anything that you working on that you're gonna release in the next month or so, or this summer, that you want to mention to our viewers and listeners so they can go to? It's a website of, or a book or a course or masterclass or whatever. Anything you want to promote or mention, please?
This summer I will have a short summer vacation here, and I've been thinking about an own music business management master course. And this
okay,
so it's like an independent thing, and there's a request for it. And now
there is a request for it.
I'm really lucky. I need to mention this. Is like I do have a lot of guests from the US we use in our lectures, returning guests. And now I've been, bouncing these ideas about what if we do. So it's this, if you are seeing this summer, I will, revisit this thing and begin to think that, well, this kind of a thing that the question where I would like to provide an answer is that what does the artist manager really need? It's the thing that, this kind of a thing that and all this kind of takeaways that you can, start acting immediately. So this is something that, I think during this summer I figure something out.
Great. So, for our listeners and viewers, a Soundbreaker, there could be or might be, how should I say, a masterclass in the music business or about the music business, how to become a manager, contracts, artist, all of that. Amazing. Amazing. Well, every great interview or every great thing has to come to an end. I truly enjoyed it, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers will enjoy it too. I just want to thank you for joining us today. And this concludes today's episode of Soundbreaker. Please make sure to follow us on socials and stay tuned for new episodes. Thank you and see you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.